Good afternoon, friends. Important video. Let's start with I'm your supplier in Delhi and you all are my buyer in Maharashtra. I have raised the invoice for 10 lakh rupees with IGST 18%, 1 lakh 80,000 rupees. You as a buyer and recipient has paid the amount to the supplier. But supplier has not deposited the tax amount to the government exchequer, either through e-cash ledger or through e-credit ledger. Now the question which we all are asking since day 1, July 1, 2017, as a buyer, as a recipient, whether you can avail the credit or you are required to reverse credit because your supplier has not deposited the tax. Even after collecting the tax amount, he has not deposited. So what happened? It's a double whammy on a recipient. Buyer, he has paid the amount to the supplier and he is being denied that he will not get the credit, and he has to reverse such credit for the fault of supplier of non-payment of taxes. Defaulter is supplier, but who is being penalized 2 times? Recipient has paid the amount to the supplier first, and second, he is being denied the credit because supplier has not deposited the tax. And we have seen lot many so-called notices. Scrutiny notices are being sent to the recipient buyer for reversal of credit, and that too along with interest. Now in this context, section 16 subsection 2 clause C is important, and you have to keep in your mind that recently 48th GST Council meeting held on 17 December 2022 has recommended reversal of credit by the buyer, by the recipient, for non-payment of taxes by the supplier, along with interest. And Rule 37A, the new rule, is now being notified by notification number 26/2022 dated 26 December 2022. And what this rule is saying, that buyer, recipient, has to reverse credit. And what is the mechanism provided in Rule 37? Listen carefully. Rule 37A is saying, and you can take an example for simplicity and understanding sake. Let's say transaction pertaining to financial year 22-23. Let's assume. Now, you have paid the amount as a recipient and buyer, you have paid the amount to the supplier and you have availed the credit. And a supplier who is defaulted, he has not paid the amount through his GSTR-3B. Then there are 2 steps we need to follow. In such a case, if you as a buyer and recipient has availed the credit for financial year 22-23, then first, your supplier must pay this liability through a GSTR-3B by September of next financial year, following the end of relevant financial year. So 22-23, September 3B is important. And through September 3B of 23, September 23, 3B, this supplier must pay the liability, either through e-cash ledger or through e-credit ledger. If the supplier is not paying the liability by September 23, 3B, then the buyer as a recipient, you need to reverse credit. You need to reverse your credit because supplier fault of non-payment of taxes. By 30th November 23. So you have to ensure that you are reversing the credit by 30th November 23 pertaining to transaction of financial year 22-23. If you don't reverse, then you are liable to pay interest under section 50 of CGST Act. This is what Rule 37A. Recently introduced, made applicable from 1st October 2022. Now, my analysis on this provision. First, section 16, subsection 2, clause C, clearly saying, and this is one of the conditions for availing credit by the buyer, that your supplier must have paid the liability. आपके supplier ने tax जमा करा दिया हो, either through e-cash ledger या e-credit ledger से. But to draw your attention, section 41 subsection 2, which got substituted by Finance Act 2022, worth noticing. इसको आप ध्यान से सुनिए. This 41 subsection 2 is a prospective clause introduced and notified by Finance Act 2022, effective from 1st October 2022, and this provision is saying buyer or recipient need to reverse credit for non-payment of taxes by the supplier along with interest. And once this tax which is not paid by the supplier is being paid, then as a buyer you can re-avail the credit. But whatever interest you have paid is a cost to you. So in this context, we have to really understand this particular video. And Rule 37A is also saying that if you have reversed the credit by 30th November 23 and subsequently it is paid by your supplier, you can re-avail the credit, but interest is a cost, loss to you. But listen very carefully, this is what the analysis. This issue is not a new issue. It was burning and struggling issue even in pre-GST era. In pre-GST era, Honorable Supreme Court in the case of KK Industries Limited has held credit can't be denied for the fault of supplier of non-payment of taxes. For the buyer, credit can't be denied for the buyer for the fault of supplier of non-payment of taxes. Honorable Supreme Court judgment in the context of Sunbet credit taken on Central Exchange. Under VAT regime, maximum High Court judgment in our favor, including Delhi High Court, Arise India, which has gone to Supreme Court, not discussed on merit but rejected. So maximum High Court judgment in our favor except Bombay High Court judgment. Similar issue has gone in GST regime before Madras High Court, D.Y. Bethel Enterprises. In that judgment, it was argued by the petitioner that department has given registration to both the parties, to supplier and to recipient. Why department will demand reversal from the buyer or recipient without taking any action against the defaulting supplier? So Honorable Madras High Court has held that department can't demand reversal from the buyer or recipient unless they take action against the defaulting supplier. यानी आप बायर या रेसिपिएंट से रिवर्सल नहीं मांग सकते जब तक कि आप डिफॉल्टिंग सप्लायर के अगेंस्ट में एक्शन नहीं लेंगे. So this was a problem for the government. and that is the reason they have substituted 41 subsection 2 of CGST Act by this Finance Act 2022. And very interesting, it is prospective clause notified from 1st October 2022, and what this 41 subsection 2 is saying, I told you, but again repeating, buyer or recipient has to reverse credit for fault of supplier of non-payment of taxes. So now the department is getting this power by 41 subsection 2 to ask for the reversal from the buyer, from the recipient, for non-payment of taxes by the supplier. This is the power they got now. So they are going to argue in the court of law. Now this power is existing, 41(2) is available, and they can demand reversal even without going to the defaulting supplier. That is what they are going to argue. But let me tell you, as a taxpayer, as a tax professional, I have got good rescue also. So I can also go to the court of law and argue, Milord, 41 subsection 2 is a prospective clause. So this is applicable only on or after 1st October 2022. So reversal of credit from the buyer, from the recipient, can't be demanded for the period prior to 1st October 2022, because this is a prospective clause. So for the past period you can't demand reversal also, because there is no provision. And to make my argument more stronger, see, as a recipient, as a buyer, unless GSTR-2A came into the picture, and came sometime beginning of 2019, how the recipient and buyer would be knowing that even after collecting the tax, supplier has not deposited? There was no mechanism available. Doctrine of impossibility. Lax non cogit ad impossibilia. You cannot compel a person to do something impossible. Yes, burden of proof lies in the hands of recipient and buyer, but tell me how the buyer would be knowing until 2A came into the picture that this supplier, even after collecting the tax, is not depositing the tax. First, even 2A came into the picture. My question again, 2A is only saying status as filed for the supplier, but it is really a conformity that supplier has included my invoice while paying the tax through GSTR-3B, because status is coming only filed. So I do not know GSTR-3B filed by the supplier is also including my invoice, and he has paid the tax. So even though 2A is saying status filed, it is not the endorsement, and there is no proof in the hands of recipient and buyer that my invoice is included, buyer invoice is included by the supplier while discharging his output tax while filing GSTR-3B. So this problem is still there. And with 41 subsection 2, my answer to all of you, and you will agree, interpretation of this provision is, since this is a prospective clause applicable from 1st October 2022, it cannot be applied retrospectively for the period prior to 1st October 2022. Hence, department cannot demand reversal of ITC from the buyer, from the recipient, for the fault of supplier of non-payment of taxes. Hope this video will help to defend our case. दोस्तों, इस वीडियो में मैंने कोशिश की आपको ये बताने की, डिपार्टमेंट आए दिन बायर और रिसिपिएंट से रिवर्सल ऑफ क्रेडिट की बात करता है, बिकॉज सप्लायर ने टैक्स कलेक्ट कर लिया फिर भी जमा नहीं कराया. सप्लायर का फॉल्ट था, सप्लायर ने जमा नहीं कराया. और सप्लायर की गलती की सजा बायर को दी जाती है और वो 2 बार पेनलाइज्ड हुआ। एक बार उसने सप्लायर को पेमेंट किया और दूसरी बार आप उससे रिवर्सल मांगते हैं, राइट। मैंने अभी आपको बताया सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जजमेंट, के इंडस्ट्रीज, वैट के जजमेंट, इवन जीएसटी रेजीम में मद्रास हाई कोर्ट का जजमेंट, डी.वाई. बेथल एंटरप्राइजेज। ऑनरेबल हाई कोर्ट ने यह कहा जब दोनों को रजिस्ट्रेशन आपने दिया है, सप्लायर एंड रिसिपिएंट, आप सीधे बायर के पास कैसे पहुंच जाते हैं और उनसे रिवर्सल कैसे मांगते हैं? आप डिफॉल्टिंग सप्लायर के अगेंस्ट में एक्शन लीजिए ना, राइट। आप भी ऐसे ही चाहेंगे। तो फाइनेंस एक्ट 2022 में एक अमेंडमेंट किया गया, 41 सबसेक्शन 2 को सब्स्टिट्यूट किया गया। प्रोस्पेक्टिव क्लॉज है, इफेक्टिव फ्रॉम 1 अक्टूबर 22। 48 जीएसटी काउंसिल मीटिंग ने एक रिकमेंडेशन दिया और उस अकाउंट पे रूल 37A नोटिफाई कर दिया गया, वाइड नोटिफिकेशन नंबर 26/2022। और इस नोटिफिकेशन में जो रूल 37A आया वो ये कहता है कि मान लीजिए 22-23 की ट्रांजैक्शन है, फाइनेंशियल ईयर 22-23, अगर आपके सप्लायर ने पेमेंट नहीं किया है तो उसके पास टाइम पीरियड होगा कि टिल सितंबर ऑफ नेक्स्ट फाइनेंशियल ईयर फॉलोइंग द एंड ऑफ फाइनेंशियल ईयर 22-23, यानी सितंबर 23 का जब वो GSTR-3B भरेगा तब तक वो उसका पेमेंट कर दे, तब तक वो उसका पेमेंट कर दे। अगर उसने नहीं किया सप्लायर ने, तो जो बायर है, जो रिसिपिएंट है, उसको ये क्रेडिट रिवर्स करनी पड़ेगी अपने GSTR-3B के जरिए बाय 30 नवंबर 2023। अगर रिवर्स नहीं की तो इंटरेस्ट लग जाएगा अंडर सेक्शन 50 सबसेक्शन 1। ये रूल 37A रिकमेंड किया गया। बट जैसा कि मैंने कहा 41 सबसेक्शन 2 सब्स्टिट्यूट कर दिया गया। इसमें रिवर्सल की बात कही गई कि बायर एंड रेसिपिएंट को रिवर्स करना पड़ेगा इफ सप्लायर हैज डिफॉल्टेड एंड ही हैज नॉट पेड द टैक्स अमाउंट। नाउ इन टर्म्स ऑफ रूल 37A मैंने एक कॉन्टेक्स्ट ड्रॉ करने की कोशिश की, ये चेंज क्यों आया। डी.वाई. बेथल मद्रास हाई कोर्ट ने कहा आप सप्लायर को पकड़ो, आप बायर से रिवर्सल क्यों मांगते हो। तो ये लॉ इनने सब्स्टिट्यूट कर दिया और लॉ में प्रोविजन डाल दिया कि अब हम बायर रेसिपिएंट से रिवर्सल मांगेंगे। तो ये कोर्ट में जाके अब यही आर्ग्यू करने वाले हैं कि मेरे पास 41(2) है, इसमें मैं रिवर्सल की बात कर रहा हूं, इसलिए बायर को रिवर्स करना पड़ेगा। तो मैंने भी एक आर्गुमेंट लिया टैक्स पेयर और टैक्स प्रोफेशनल की तरफ से। तो यानी ये अगर 1 अक्टूबर 2022 से इफेक्टिव है तो 1 अक्टूबर 2022 एंड ऑनवर्ड्स एप्लीकेबल होगा। प्रायर टू 1 अक्टूबर 2022 ये एप्लीकेबल नहीं हो सकता। सो पीरियड प्रायर टू 1 अक्टूबर 2022, क्योंकि तब ये 41 सबसेक्शन 2 था ही नहीं। इस वीडियो के जरिए मैंने कोशिश की आपको यह बताने की कि अगर रिवर्सल की बात हो रही है फॉर द बायर एंड रिसिपिएंट फॉर नॉन पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्स बाय द सप्लायर, it is only applicable from 1st October 2022 onwards. For the past period, they can't demand reversal because there is no corresponding provision, no corresponding rule. So, I'm sure this video will help you to defend and take guard against such notices, which is demanding reversal of credit for non-payment of taxes by the supplier. Stay tuned, lot many video. GSTR 1 versus GSTR 3B difference क्या होगा? Credit availed in GSTR 3B versus GSTR 2A. Stay tuned, lot many videos. Thanks for watching. Thank you very much.